How's it going, everybody? And welcome back. Now that we've looked at the best, it's time to go in a different direction and take a step in the past by looking at the prequel game, Batman Arkham Origins. Man, 2013 was definitely a weird year for Batman fans. The Dark Knight Returns Part 2 released some praise, the Caped Crusader was showing up in Injustice, and he had a new cartoon on the way known as Beware the Batman. But the announcement that had me the most excited was the next Arkham game that was being released later on that same year. Since Rocksteady were hard at work on the final installment, WB Games Montreal stepped up to the plate, and considering that they worked on Arkham City R Edition for the Wii U, it seemed like a safe bet that they would make a good game to keep us busy. From the initial teaser and eventual trailers throughout the year, it had me in super hype mode, and even though I was 13 at the time, I didn't give a damn about anything that seemed bad. Just like Arkham City, it was a Christmas present along with Blackgate, and I couldn't play it right away thanks to a brother and a certain FPS he got. But once I did play it, I couldn't put it down. I mean, that was so long ago. I mean, I've done playthroughs since then, but nothing ever stuck with me like that first one did. Maybe this time will be different. For this video, I decided to look at the Wii U version, not only for a change of pace, but also my Xbox crashed mid-recording. But there is some content from that version that I will be talking about during the review. So then, are we ready to look back a bit? Well, too fucking bad. So, let's grab our Pro Controllers, and let's see how this origin story unfolds. We start this game 5 years before Arkham Asylum. Okay, I just need to sidetrack for a minute. 5 years? Seriously? Out of all the amount of time you could have chosen, and you pick 5 years? Okay, back on topic. It's Christmas Eve, and Black Mask is breaking into Blackgate Penitentiary with Commissioner Loeb as a hostage. Batman hits the prison and is just short of saving Loeb, which sucks, but he gets to punch a crocodile in the face, so that's something. Bruce heads back to the cave and looks over a memory card he found, which reveals that 8 of the world's best assassins are trying to claim a $50 million bounty set up by Black Mask to kill the Bat. Among the list, we have Killer Croc, who we just took down a second ago, Deathstroke, who was just a marketing tool for this game, Copperhead. Oh, come on, it had to be intentional. Electrocutioner, who is just the Shocker but less cool, Lady Shiva, who I like already, Deadshot, who we took down in Arkham City, Firefly, which is random, and finally our favorite luchador, Bane. So not only does he have to deal with these guys, but he also has cops after him, and he has to eat that Christmas ham with Alfred. I mean, shit. The Dark Knight begins his hunt by following up on a drone that showed up at Blackgate and is owned by the Penguin. Upon being tracked down and interrogated, Oswald reveals to us that Black Mask was murdered by an unknown individual in his apartment. After duking it out with Slade, Batman investigates the crime scene and pieces most of it together, but realizes he needs access to the National Criminal Database to solve the rest, and figure out who the mysterious Joker is. During our infiltration of the GCPD, Batman stumbles upon a young Barbara Gordon who tells us that in order to get full access to the database, he needs to go into the sewers, which we go do, but not before having a small scuffle with James Gordon, who is the captain at this time. After connecting, Batman concludes that Black Mask was kidnapped by the Joker and figures he is using him to gain access to his bank. Upon arriving, the big twist of the game is unraveled, and I'm still not a fan. So it turns out the Joker was impersonating Black Mask the entire time, and was the one responsible for putting the bounty on Batman. Come on guys, he just died one game ago. Leave the poor clown to rest. Even though the Joker is really entertaining in this game, it angers me because the spotlight should have been on everything else. It's the same problem I had with Arkham City's story, but it's even more frustrating here. They had a great concept, but sort of threw it out the window for another Batman vs. Joker story, which kinda works, but isn't really necessary and ultimately disappointing. Back to the plot. Our hero ends up looking for the Joker at the steel mill, where he frees Roman Sionis and has an encounter with Copperhead while he's poisoned. After getting cured and beating her, we track Joker's location, all thanks to our buddy Electrocutioner. Too bad they reward him with this. Yikes. We make our way through the hotel and find the clown himself, but before we can do anything, Bane arrives and his boss fight ensues. Seconds before Bane leaves, Batman places a tracker on him, and after some free-falling, Joker is taken into custody and sent to Blackgate to be looked over by one Harleen Quinzel. Damn, ain't she in for a wild ride. Too bad it's not going to end well for her. Sorry, Puddin'. Right after a heated argument with Alfred, Batman locates the tracker only to discover that Bane knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Before Bruce can get back to the Batcave, Firefly shows up and starts attacking the bridge, threatening to blow it up with bombs. After taking Garfield down, we head back to the cave, but we're too late since Bane already destroyed the place and left Alfred to die. Thanks to some electric punches, Batman saves his butler, who encourages him to get back out there and stop the Joker again since he took over Blackgate. The Dark Knight infiltrates the prison yet again until he finds the Joker in this no-win scenario where he has to kill Bane or let Bane's heartbeat charge up an electric chair that will kill the Joker. Batman manages to cheat the scenario, and in his effort to revive Bane, he wakes up and pumps himself with this drug known as TN1. After beating the Hulk, Batman finds the Joker and proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of him, ending his reign of terror. For another 3 months. Gordon reflects on everything that happened throughout the night, realizing that the Batman can be a force of good in Gotham, ending the story of Arkham Origins. Overall, the story is definitely entertaining, but there are some major factors that really set it back for me. I mentioned the Joker bit earlier, but another thing that bothers me is that the assassins don't play more of a key role in the story aside from Bane, most of which are just done after one fight, and some like Deadshot and Shiva are relegated to being side quests, which is disappointing. Talking about performances for a second, the highlight for me this time is Roger Craig Smith as Batman. You can really feel the intensity and anger, and he just works as a younger Batman. Troy Baker has an amazing performance as the Joker, but one minor nitpick is that some of his moments he leans too hard on trying to sound like Mark Hamill, and it can be distracting. Alright, time to move on to gameplay. In terms of combat and stealth, little to nothing has changed from the last game, but there are some things I want to mention. Takedowns can be upgraded to be used more than once, which is an inclusion that I love very much. Kinda sounded like I rhymed there. Batman has a stance now, which I don't know what this is for, but thought I'd mention it anyway. Enemies are a lot more aggressive this time around, and I don't like this at all. You could be blindsided by 3 different guys in sequence, and that gets annoying pretty fast. Speaking of enemies, some new types that were added, including the martial artists and the brutes. Martial artists are able to counter you, so be sure to pay attention, and brutes just require a massive beatdown. Be sure to use the shock gloves on them, especially when they're armored. There's also Bane type thugs who can just fuck off. I guess it's a good segue, but yes, there are some new gadgets, plus some other ones that are changed that I want to go over. After beating Deathstroke, you take the remote claw, which allows you to anchor between 2 points and walk on it like a tightrope. You can also use it as a makeshift line launcher since it isn't in the game. Before raiding the GCPD, you grab the concussion detonator, which I've used a total of 3 times since I've got this game. It just makes enemies go nuts, and I don't really find it that useful. Now we have the glue grenade instead of the freezing one, which serves the same purpose, just traps enemies and makes platforms for you to ride on. Lastly, from the electrocutioner's corpse comes the shock gloves. This isn't anything new since Arkham City Armored Edition did this first, but unlike that game, it's a massive improvement here. It's broken in any fight, which is why I keep it reserved for certain enemies and boss fights. As a whole, the new gadgets are serviceable, but not really interesting to me. The remote claw has more value than the others since you can get more use out of it, and it is fun seeing enemies hang from gargoyles and collide into each other. Time to talk about the other stuff, so let's get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
You like Arkham City's map? Well, here it is again, just stapled to a new chunk of Gotham. I'm not going to fault them too hard since they probably didn't have the budget to make something completely new, and I enjoy seeing Arkham City long before it became a shithole. Besides gliding, the best way to get around is the new fast travel system, which is the best addition to this game. Only problem is the loading screen you'll be seeing over 100 times. It's just so boring to look at, especially with no music to liven it up. Also, getting other travel points is a pain in the ass since they tie it into side missions. Speaking of which, Arkham Origins has its own variety of side activities, which are destroying certain objects, beating up people, or taking down some bad guys, which include D-listers and major villains from the story. I don't really have a favorite here, but a couple that stick out to me are Anarchy and Mad Hatter, since they're overall not bad. Shiva, Deadshot, and Black Mask are relegated to just being mooks, which is kind of sad. And we can't forget about the Riddler, who is going by Enigma at this time. Aside from collecting data packs, there are also thugs to interrogate, network relays to smash, and towers to unlock travel points for the Batwing. Enigma as a whole is a boring mess of a side mission that is best just to skip out on. You can also do some crime scenes sprinkled throughout the city, which is neat. I forgot to talk about it earlier, but basically it reconstructs the crime as it happened, and all I can say, it's a neat addition. As a whole, side missions are just kind of mediocre and not really memorable to me. There's not really much else I can say, so I'm just gonna move on before I piss off more people. So, let's talk about the Dark Knight system, shall we? There are 4 sets of challenges for combat, stealth, etc. And this is without a doubt the worst inclusion in this entire series. I'm not kidding when I say this, but my words can't describe the burning passion I have for these fucking challenges. Not only do certain upgrades unlock after completing a certain challenge, but some challenges can only be done in certain areas throughout the campaign. So if you fuck up, which you most certainly will, because the challenge is bugged, well, too bad. And after finishing every tier of missions, what is your great reward for wasting your time with these? A repaint of the main suit that still keeps all the damage. I'm only going to say this once, but for the love of God, don't do these. For fuck's sake, don't. Graphics are alright. Yeah, that's it. Models are nice, and some areas are very pleasing to the eyes. But at other times, you're staring at an ugly gray skybox, which is never nice. The soundtrack is forgettable. It's nothing bad or anything, it's just I can't think of any other track other than the main theme of the game. Upon beating the game on normal or higher, you unlock New Game Plus, and upon beating that, you unlock I Am the Night mode, which is basically you die once, that's it. Challenge ramps are literally the same besides the new training area, and just like before, this is where you get to play as the DLC characters such as Deathstroke, who is pretty fun, and Bruce Wayne from the Initiation Pack. I like playing as him, but he just kind of feels like a wasted slot to me. Also, for completionists, if you decide to get all the medals as Batman, you unlock the Injustice costume, which is actually kind of cool, and a nice reward for all the hassle. When it comes to DLC, you got stuff like the Black Mask Challenge maps, which are whatever, and then you got the Batman skins, which are awesome. My favorites are definitely both Lantern skins and the Long Halloween Batman. Earth 2 and the First Appearance skin are pretty nice, and Noelle has actually grown on me since before I didn't really like it that much. There are some weird additions like Throw Killer and Round Table, which I don't mind personally. And if you have a PS3, you can play as Adam West Batman and Jean-Paul Valley Nightfall Batman, which is reason enough to get a PS3 copy. Or you could just mod the PC version and get them along with the other lost skins. Anybody remember 1 Million? Or the new 52 Metallic skin? Yeah, I didn't think so. Last DLC to mention is the Cold Cold Heart DLC, which is a story pack that is similar to Harley Quinn's Revenge, and is honestly better in my opinion. It's just a retelling of Heart of Ice, but they change enough to make it fit in the Arkhamverse, and...
it just works.
Sorry, Zach. I guess the last thing to talk about is the multiplayer, which I didn't play. The Wii U version lacks this feature, and I don't really feel like paying Xbox Live Gold for something I'm not really interested in playing. It's just 2 teams of 3 with Joker and Bane's thugs, with Batman and Robin trying to stop both factions. Even just by looking at it, who asked for this? It's just unnecessary and ain't worth your time. In conclusion, Batman Arkham Origins is a really solid action-adventure game with a decent story and noteworthy characters. But I would be lying to myself if I said it was a great Batman game and one of the better games in this franchise. Even though it has pretty much all the elements that made the other games great, it somehow makes it worse and kind of chore to play at times. This is by no means a bad game, and I would rather play this than the Telltale games, but thinking about this game just makes me want to play Arkham City again, or even Asylum for that matter. I recommend this more for a story playthrough than anything, since I feel the other stuff to do isn't all that satisfying. The game is on almost everything, and I recommend waiting for a sale to experience this game for yourself. Hopefully you'll have a better time than I did. Man, finally glad to get this video out. We only got 2 more of these things to go. With that said, next time we meet we're going to be looking at the companion game that released alongside this one, Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. Until that next review, I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.